history enthusiasts and curious minds. Today, we're delving into the captivating life and legacy of none other than George Washington, the man who made America. From epic battles to political intrigue, this is the story of the ultimate founding father who paved the way for the nation we know today. Get ready to uncover the extraordinary journey of the man who went from soldier to statesman, and the impact he had on shaping the United States. George Washington was born on February 22, 1732, in Westmoreland County, Virginia. He grew up to become a central figure in American history, known for his leadership during the American Revolutionary War and as the first President of the United States. His legacy extends beyond his presidency, as he played a significant role in shaping the young nation's values and government. In 1752, George Washington embarked on his military journey by joining the colonial militia. His service during the French and Indian War marked a pivotal period in his life. Commissioned as a major in the Virginia militia, Washington engaged in various military campaigns. Notably, his participation in the Battle of Monongahela in 1755 showcased his bravery and strategic acumen, despite the British forces suffering a defeat. His experiences in the colonial militia during this conflict not only shaped his understanding of warfare but also honed his leadership skills. These early experiences, witnessing the complexities of warfare and the challenges of leading troops, would profoundly influence his future role as the Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army during the American Revolutionary War. Washington's early military service provided a solid foundation for his later endeavors in shaping the nation's history. In 1759, a significant year in George Washington's life, he married Martha Custis, marking the beginning of a devoted partnership. Simultaneously, Washington expanded his involvement in politics by joining the Virginia House of Burgesses. His early experiences in the House allowed him to engage in political discussions, where he notably opposed what he perceived as unfair British taxes and policies imposed on the American colonies. This opposition to British taxation and policies would later become a central point in the lead-up to the American Revolution, reflecting Washington's early stance on colonial rights and autonomy. George Washington attended the First and Second Continental Congresses as a delegate from Virginia, emerging as a staunch advocate for the colonial cause. During these gatherings, he expressed strong support for the colony's grievances against British policies and taxation without representation. His impassioned speeches and unwavering dedication to the colony's rights helped shape the discussions that would ultimately lead to the decision to pursue independence from British rule. Washington's early advocacy laid the groundwork for the revolutionary sentiment that led to the American Revolution. In 1775, George Washington was appointed as the Commander-in-Chief of the colonial forces by the Second Continental Congress. This was a pivotal moment in American history, marking the official beginning of his leadership in the American Revolutionary War. Washington's appointment placed him at the forefront of the struggle for independence, where he would display his military expertise and leadership qualities in guiding the Continental Army through the challenges of the war. The victory at Saratoga in 1777 stands as a significant turning point in the American Revolutionary War. Although George Washington was not directly involved in the Battle of Saratoga, this triumph was a critical moment for the American cause. General Horatio Gates led the American forces to success, securing a decisive victory against the British. The win at Saratoga proved crucial as it convinced the French to formally ally with the Americans, providing much-needed military and financial support, which significantly bolstered the American war effort against the British. The signing of the Treaty of Paris in 1783 marked the formal end of the American Revolutionary War. This treaty was signed between the United States and Great Britain, recognizing the independence of the 13 American colonies and establishing the boundaries of the new nation. The treaty acknowledged the United States as a sovereign nation separate from British rule, solidifying the hard-fought victory and paving the way for the fledgling nation's future. George Washington's leadership during the war played a pivotal role in securing this peace and establishing the groundwork for the new nation's independence. In 1787, George Washington was indeed elected as the President of the Constitutional Convention held in Philadelphia. This historic gathering aimed to address the shortcomings of the Articles of Confederation, which governed the United States at that time. As the convention's president, Washington played a crucial role in guiding discussions, maintaining order, and providing a unifying presence during the intense debates that ultimately led to the drafting and adoption of the United States Constitution. His leadership and support were instrumental in shaping the structure and principles of the new government. In 1789, George Washington was inaugurated as the first President of the United States. His election was a significant moment in American history, marking the beginning of the nation's experiment with democratic governance. Washington's presidency set numerous precedents, shaping the office and laying the foundation for the executive branch's functions and responsibilities outlined in the newly established United States Constitution. His leadership during this formative period was instrumental in solidifying the government's structure and policies. The Residence Act of 1790 solidified the creation of a federal district along the Potomac River, establishing it as the permanent seat of the U.S. government. President George Washington played a crucial role in selecting the site for the Capitol and overseeing the development of federal buildings, including what we now recognize as the White House. The construction of the White House, initially called the President's House or the Executive Mansion, began in October 1792 under the direction of President Washington, Pierre Charles L'Enfant, the city planner, and James Hoban, the Irish architect. Influenced by neoclassical architecture and inspired by Dublin's Leinster House, the White House's construction progressed over the years, with the cornerstone laid on October 13, 1792. Despite Washington's key role in the planning and commencement of construction, the White House was incomplete by the end of his presidency. It wasn't until President John Adams took office in 1800 that the mansion was sufficiently finished for residency, though the interior work was ongoing. Full completion, including interior elements and renovations, occurred during President James Monroe's tenure in 1817. Throughout its history, the White House underwent various renovations and reconstructions, including President Truman's extensive overhaul in the mid-20th century. Despite these alterations, the fundamental design by James Hoban during George Washington's era remains the core structure of the White House as we see it today. George Washington was re-elected for a second term as President of the United States in 1792. On this period, his views on slavery evolved over his lifetime. While he expressed moral and ethical concerns about slavery, owning enslaved individuals himself, he did take steps against the expansion of slavery. The Slave Trade Act of 1794, which he signed, prohibited American ships from participating in the international slave trade. In his will, Washington did indeed decree that the enslaved individuals he owned would be freed upon his death. Martha Washington, his wife, fulfilled this provision and freed the slaves, including her own, in 1801, a year after George Washington's death. This act, while notable, didn't entirely absolve Washington of his participation in slavery but did reflect a step toward acknowledging the institution's moral complexities and taking action toward its discontinuation. George Washington was concerned about the emergence of political factions, particularly the formation of the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans. He cautioned against the divisive nature of political parties in his farewell address in 1796, warning about the potential dangers of partisan politics, which he feared could threaten national unity and the functioning of the government. Washington believed that political parties could lead to conflicts that might overshadow the common good, undermine the stability of the young nation, and hinder effective governance. Despite his reservations, the emergence of these political factions laid the groundwork for the development of the American party system, which has since been an integral part of the country's political landscape. In 1797, George Washington retired from the presidency, marking a significant moment in American history. After serving 2 terms as the nation's first president, he made the decision to step down, setting a crucial precedent for the peaceful transfer of power and demonstrating a commitment to the Republican ideals of the young nation. Washington's decision to retire after his second term solidified the principle of a 2-term presidency, a tradition that lasted for nearly a century and a half until the 22nd Amendment to the United States Constitution established a 2-term limit for presidents. George Washington, the first President of the United States, passed away on December 14, 1799, at his estate in Mount Vernon, Virginia. His death marked the loss of a key figure in American history, revered for his leadership during the Revolutionary War, his presidency, and his role in shaping the early American government. Washington's passing was mourned not only in the United States but also around the world, as he was seen as a symbol of the new nation's values and aspirations. As we wrap up our deep dive into George Washington's incredible life, it's clear that his story is a treasure trove of inspiration and intrigue. His meticulous management of Mount Vernon was a lifelong endeavor. His 8,000-acre estate was a hub of agricultural experimentation and innovation. His exploits on the battlefield and his visionary leadership in the halls of power are the stuff of legends. So, remember, this isn't just history. It's the thrilling adventure of a man who molded a nation and left an indelible mark. Thanks for joining us on this historical journey, and stay curious, because the story of America's first hero is one that keeps on giving.